And now we continue with some of the top stories that we have been looking at. A group of United Nations experts has urged authorities in Mali to free anti-corruption campaigner Clement Mamadou Dembele following his incarceration for nearly 2 years. Clement Dembele remained in detention despite a court ruling ordering his release over 4 months ago. According to UN experts, the case reflects an escalating pattern of human rights violations against members of the opposition, journalists and human rights defenders in Mali. The call follows a recent report which found that Russian private mercenary operations in that country sowed resentment within West African nations, army and military government, causing security lapses and failed to yield any mining concessions. For a look at the political landscape in Mali, we are joined now by political analyst at the Bamako University in Mali, Dr. Zoumara Diarra. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
So there have been reports of clashes between armed military groups, or militia rather, and the army, with the Russian paramilitary group, the Wagner group. But there have also been attacks on civilians, including kidnappings. Has the situation stabilized, or is it getting worse?
As far as I'm concerned, the security situation in Mali is very worrying, despite of the significant efforts made by the government. When we follow developments in the situation, we saw that violence is widespread. For instance, since May, in my point of view, the situation has continued to deteriorate. Multiple terrorist attacks have been carried out against civilians and the Malian army forces, the most recent of which took place in Farabougou last week.
And we also seen the involvement of the ISGS and JNIM. Now, I read in the introduction that there seems to be growing resentment of the presence of these Russian military forces fighting alongside the Malian government. What can you tell us about that situation, and how tenuous is the situation?
So the situation in Mali, especially the political landscape, has been very tense since 2020, when the army took power, and even before that. The main tensions, therefore, relate to the transitional period. Recently, this period has been extending for another 5 years. Political activities and fundamental freedoms, such as freedom of opinion, expression, and the press, are also among the points of tensions in Mali at the moment.
Now, as we mentioned, that UN and human rights experts are calling for the release of Clement Mamadou. How did he find himself in the crosshairs of the military junta?
I would like to remind that Clement Dembele is a professor at one of the University of Bamako in Mali. He is also a political leader and a well-known civil society leader in the fight against corruption in Mali, as he is a president of an association called the Platform Against Corruption and Unemployment in Mali, French acronym PCC. He was arrested in November 2023 while preparing a press conference on the electricity problems in Mali. The official reason for this arrest were death threats against the traditional president and his family in a voice message posted on social media. He has never admitted this allegation. And on July, on the early July, the judge dismissed the case, but the prosecutors appealed, and Clement Mamadou Dembele remains in the prison, unfortunately.
And what is the forecast for not only his freedom, for his life? Have there been reports of torture? Is there any prospect of him being released alive or even in good health?
Sorry, say again, please.
I'm asking, what are the prospects of him being released, and is he being tortured? Is he in good health? Are there any reports of such happening?
I think it's a part of the criminal procedure. Even though I don't agree with its arrestation, but according to the criminal procedure, the prosecutor has the right to make an appeal from the decision of the judge.
So let's just talk about reforms that are required in Mali at the moment. There is a view, and no doubt this would be shared by human rights campaigners like Professor Dembele, that civil society has to be involved, has to be at the heart of the reforms that are required in Mali. As you mentioned yourself, that the military government seems to have extended its role at the helm of state. Is there any room for that given the current conditions?
In my opinion, security reforms cannot be very effective without civil society. Everyone is aware of the role played by community leaders in this field. For instance, civil society participation should be very important, particularly when the Malian government decides one day to negotiate with armed group. On one side, on the other side, as far as I'm concerned, for the moment there is no hope for civilians to have a democratically elected leader. You know, in the early July, I have to remind the Malian parliament passed a law granting the president 5 more years in office, renewable as many times as necessary until the country is completely pacified. As you know, for those familiar with the fight against terrorism, no one can predict when it can take end.
Mm. And we understand that it's not just Malians who are in danger, that the danger or the security situation is now spreading to foreign nationals. There was a case of 3 Indian nationals that were held or are being held hostage. Is there a danger of this conflict going beyond the continent to other parts of the world, given the fact that there are foreign nationals who are in Mali, and embassies are in fact being encouraged to ramp up their security?
You know, in Mali at the moment, no region has been spared from violence by armed groups. So, not even the region, Kai region, which was attacked by an army group in the early July. And the industrial unit, the governor's office, and the police station were targeted in these attacks, which took place on the same day. This doesn't mean that there is no hope for the security situation, as the Malian army forces are making considerable efforts against the terrorism. So I remain a little bit optimistic.
But what do you foresee
Uh,
as viable security solutions to the current situation?
as far as I'm concerned, I think the military response is very important in the for fighting against terrorism, but is not enough. It's very important for me to add it the political means, so the political way there is to negotiate with some army group. It's very important. The only military issue is not the best way for getting the peaceful period for Mali and for the Sahel. One day it will be very important to negotiate with some leaders of the army group. It's very important for me.
A very interesting comment by one of your colleagues saying that the problem is that Bamako's current strategy to tackle the armed groups, the terrorism there, is based more on theory and political maneuverings rather than localized dynamics and solutions. In your understanding, what would that mean?
It means that the only army cannot get a definitive solution for the multi-dimensional crisis that Mali and the other Sahelian countries know. It means it's necessary for those countries to develop a dialogue, a political dialogue strategies with some of the stakeholders in terms of army group. It's very important for those countries to develop the dialogue, the political dialogue with all the actors.
And just finally, do you see that dialogue being extended to ECOWAS having a role given the friction between Mali and ECOWAS?
I don't think because the relationship between Mali and ECOWAS is very very conflictual. So if you listen to the speech or the political speech of our authorities, it's impossible for the three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, to come back to ECOWAS. So they created the new organization which govern the three countries. Maybe they can develop a diplomatic relationship between ECOWAS, but it's I think it is not possible at the moment for the three countries to come back to ECOWAS.
Right,
This is my point of view.
I really appreciate your time, political analyst at Bamako University in Mali. Dr. Zoumara Diarra brings the time to 26 minutes to 10.